We live in the age of the selfie, the age of the personal brand, the age of me. But is that empowerment or just narcissism? The philosophy of narcissism asks whether self-love is strength or self-destruction. The word comes from the Greek myth of Narcissus, the boy who stared at his reflection until he wasted away, unable to love anything beyond the image of himself. In that story, narcissism is tragedy, a warning about obsession with the self. But today narcissism is everywhere. Some see it as a toxic plague, others as survival in a world where visibility means power. Maybe the real question is not whether narcissism is good or bad, but why it has become the very air we breathe. Philosophers and psychologists have wrestled with this for centuries. Freud believed narcissism was a stage of human development. Infants begin life seeing themselves as the center of the world before they realize others exist. Too much of this self-focus can become pathology, but without it, we wouldn't even form a sense of identity. Jacques Lacan later described the mirror stage, when a child first recognizes themselves in their reflection. That moment is both empowering and alienating. We see ourselves, but we also become trapped in the image of how we appear to others. This is the root of narcissism, the self always chasing its reflection, never quite catching it. Psychologists today point to multiple causes of narcissism. Some suggest that childhood neglect or excessive criticism can lead to compensatory self-obsession, where a person builds a grandiose self-image to mask feelings of inadequacy and shame. Others note that overpraising or excessive pampering can produce entitlement, creating an expectation that the world must always reflect one's greatness. Genetic factors also play a role. Some people are predisposed to lower empathy or higher sensitivity to rejection, making them more vulnerable to narcissistic traits. In essence, narcissism can be seen as a fragile defense mechanism and armor covering deep insecurity. But narcissism is not only internal. Society itself manufactures it. Ancient philosophers like Aristotle and the Stoics warned against hubris, the overinflated pride that leads to ruin. Christian theology later framed pride as the deadliest of sins, the root of the fall of Lucifer, the angel who loved himself more than God. Across history, cultures have feared excessive self-focus as both spiritually dangerous and socially destructive. Yet modern culture flips the script. In a capitalist and digital society, attention is currency. Visibility means survival. To market yourself, to stand out, to be seen, this is no longer vanity but necessity. Sociologist Christopher Losch argued in The Culture of Narcissism that modern life encourages shallow performance and constant validation seeking. What used to be called pride is now often called confidence. What once was condemned as vanity is now praised as self-branding. On social media, everyone becomes Narcissus, staring into a digital pool, measuring worth through likes, comments, and algorithmic approval. But maybe this isn't simply vanity. To curate, to filter, to present yourself is also to ask, who am I? Who do I want to be seen as? Narcissism, then, is not just a sickness but a mirror of modern existence. It is a way of coping with a fragmented world, a way of stabilizing identity when everything feels unstable. The danger is when the reflection becomes more real than the person, when we begin to value the performance over the inner life. Narcissism, then, becomes a paradox. It is self-love that protects us from despair, but self-worship that isolates us from others. It is confidence turned inward until it becomes blindness. It is both a shield and a cage. The philosophy of narcissism forces us to ask, how much of me is truly me and how much is just the echo of my reflection in other people's eyes? Thinkers like Eric Fromm argued that narcissism is not merely individual but collective. Nations, groups, even entire cultures can become narcissistic, obsessed with their own image of greatness while blind to their flaws. In this sense, narcissism is not just a personality disorder but a human condition scaled up across societies. And maybe that explains why it feels so inescapable today. To be human is to need a mirror. To exist is to seek recognition. But the danger comes when we mistake the mirror for the world, when the reflection becomes the prison. The challenge is balance, to love ourselves enough to stand strong without collapsing into obsession, to face the mirror without drowning in it. To understand the psychological roots of our narcissism, whether childhood wounds, cultural pressure, or innate temperament, while refusing to let those roots determine the shape of our future. Perhaps the final irony of narcissism is that it is never really about the self. It is about the hunger to be seen, to be validated, to be confirmed by others. The mirror was never the problem. It was always the gaze of the one looking back.